What's the deal, everybody? Appreciate everybody RSVPing and coming through to kick it with us today. I don't know who brought you here, but whoever brought you here, I appreciate that happening too. Like you said, my name is TG. I'm from Detroit. In Detroit, been hosting 10, 11 years. And really, like I told all our panelists before we let y'all in the club, this is just going to be a big conversation. So I want y'all to utilize the chat box to its full capacity, talk to each other, talk to the panelists, call people by name, try to get as much out of this next 90 minutes as you possibly can. Because I know from experience, there's no way we're going to be able to get every single thing out of all of these great panelists. So I want y'all to talk on the side, get to know each other, connect, send links, send social media handles, make this something that matters for you, and you didn't just waste your Saturday evening because you got a million other things we could be doing, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go one by one through our panelists, let them introduce themselves, 20, 25 seconds, who they are, what they are, before we start jumping to these questions. And Jasmine, we'll start with you.
My name is Delvin.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. And I am a men and women's wear luxury fashion designer based in Chicago. Project Runway Season 18 contestant, and all I do is sew. Also costuming. So I have some work in the TV and film industry, Empire, and then a TV show called Legendary. So
now we're going to Jasmine.
Okay. I'm Jasmine Brooks. I'm the owner of JMB Advising, which is a educational consulting company. So I specialize in working with students and families on their post-secondary planning and what that process looks like, whether it's getting into college or a trade program, scholarships, essay review, personal statements. But I'm also an educator full-time, and I'm the dean of academics at Voyager College Prep, which is a K-12 school, and I run the high school's academic program.
Ian, it's on you.
Appreciate it. What's up, everybody? My name's Ian Bridges. I'm a co-founder of Gingerbread Scholars. It's a Detroit-based education organization striving to expose inner-city elementary school students to mirror images of academic success. So people that look like them, who have achieved amazing things. And that's something, that's a passion project. And during the day, I'm a change management consultant. So I work with brands that many of you all are familiar with, assisting them in implementing new change within their organizations.
All right, Brittany, talk to us.
Hey everybody, I'm Brittany Ray. As I always say, my 9 to 5, I work for Under Armour doing global philanthropy. So I focus a lot on building out their grant programs, working with nonprofits, their databases, but then I also assist with their storytelling and content. Outside of Under Armour, I'm starting to work with athletes and entertainers, building up their philanthropic programming, as well as doing branding and marketing with them.
All right, KB, let's do it.
Yo. So my name is Carl Bostic, go by KB. I am a digital marketing strategist for Rock Nation Sports and Entertainment Agency, working with our athletes on all things digital, helping manage their IP. In the great words of Brittany, my 5 to 9, after my 9 to 5, is working for About You Outreach, which is a student athlete focused nonprofit that does everything from SAT, prep, as well as physical fitness and sport performance training.
All right, man, there we have it. So again, shout out to Dem Event, Chicago, Casper, Detroit for putting this together, this panel, these people. And like I said, I hosted all comedy shows, podcasts, parties, wedding receptions, funeral receptions, whatever needs somebody to make the announcements, I will do that. But for the people who just got here, I want y'all to use the chat box, talk to each other, ask questions, so we can make sure we try to get to as much as we possibly can. All right, panelists, let's get this popping. Now that we know who everybody is, the name of this panel, this discussion is a generational impact. And as you all can see, I don't think anybody on this panel is over 35 or 40. Nobody here has 20 or 30 years of experience in any one particular field. And I think it's super crazy that we have created a group of people that fall into that demographic to talk about something like generational impact. I myself am a father. I have 3 children. Jasmine is a mother. I don't know who else is a parent, but generational impact obviously starts to mean a little more to you when you have the next generation asking you for goldfish every 10 minutes. So real quick, we're gonna go in that same order. Devin, we'll do you first. And let's just talk about real quick why you think we selected you, or what makes you somebody necessary on a generational impact panel. What are you doing? And be vague, because I don't want to get into all the good stuff just yet.
I would just basically say being a fashion designer in this field, being an entrepreneur, having the level of success, small, not really huge just yet. And I'm setting an example for my peers because not many in my age group are doing the things that I'm doing.
How old are you?
27.
27. All right. All right. Jasmine, talk to us. Why are you on this generational impact panel?
So I'm 30. I have two boys. One is 17 and one just turned 6. And as a parent, the services that I provide for my clients are the things that I would want someone to do for my own children. I'm just skilled and able to do it for them myself. So I want them to have a plan. I want them to understand that they have options and choices in the decisions that they make for their future and the trajectory that they want to go in. And to not feel limited, especially because I have Black men for sons. I want them to understand that they have value in whatever it is that they're doing. So I project that same atmosphere towards any clients that I'm working with, no matter where they're from. I've had students from out of state, you know, different minorities, you know, just different races. And I just want them to know that they have an advocate in my company, the same way I advocate for my students on a day-to-day basis in what they want to do post-secondary after high school.
Thank you very much. Ian, why are you on a generational impact panel?
Yeah, for sure. So I started my career as an educator. I taught in Detroit Public Schools, and through that experience just confirmed a passion for ensuring that people that look like me, that are from communities similar to my own, have amazing opportunities. And in that experience, I was able to reflect on the experiences that I had growing up, whether it be, you know, in public school or even attending undergrad at Morehouse College. They're just constantly positive examples of success for a Black man. And I want to make sure that other students have that same type of example. So yeah, I'm definitely passionate about the topic, and I think I'm positioned to provide a unique perspective for sure.
Yes, sir. Brittany, you ready?
Yeah. So with the role that I currently have with Under Armour, being able to come in and have the opportunity to build up their systems, and especially their grant process, working with the nonprofits, having an opportunity to bring a unique perspective, but also having a voice at the table and being able to integrate new stories. For me personally, growing up, sports played a huge role in my life, whether it was, of course, the lessons and things you learned playing with the team and on the court. But outside of all of that, my mom actually, there's a saying that she told me a couple years ago that really resonated. And growing up, we got by through the kindness of strangers. And thinking through that, whether it was playing sports, somebody went out of their way to take me to practice, to get us shoes, to do little things like that, to allow us to go to camps. And so having the opportunity to work for a global brand and integrate give back as well as sports on a day-to-day basis, I feel like the position I'm in, have the opportunity to really make an impact and influence in different communities throughout the world.
Thank you very much. KB, take us home.
Yeah, being on a panel about generational impact is very important for me because much like Brittany, like I was a student athlete, and you know, as you go through your college career, you kind of miss out on a lot of professional opportunities because you're training, you're at school, you can't do the internships that everyone else can. And as I got to my senior year, you know, I kind of had to figure everything else out on my own. Right. And for me to be in the position that I'm in my career, to have worked for as many companies that I have, to hold the positions that I did, I'm the exception to the rule. For a lot of athletes, they don't have this level of success. They're not able to articulate their skills in a professional manner that allows them to make that leap from, okay, I've been playing sports my whole life, to now I have tangible skills that add value to a corporate environment. So for me, it's very important to kind of think of ways to give back, think of ways to articulate, okay, how do you go about navigating that process? Because there wasn't anybody there for me and my group of friends, and we all came out on the other side. But, you know, each one teach one. I have this knowledge, I have this platform. You know, it'd be selfish of me to not help the next generation. So I kind of see it as my duty.
Y'all are kind of good at this already. Yeah, I have these answers written out. I need to send y'all the questions. Mo, you sent them the questions?
No.
Yeah, gee, I don't like this.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't like
No,
y'all.
I Googled it.
That's all right. Y'all gonna get stumped later today. Shout out to all our new people that's joining us. Thank you. I see a couple good brothers pulled up. Make sure you use the chat box in case if you got a question, throw it in there. Let us know who it's for or what you want to say. We're gonna try our best, do our best to get to you. And the panelists can also respond to you in the chat box if we don't have time to get around to them. My next question for the panel, I'm gonna skip the next question. It was, what does the term generational impact mean to you? But y'all kind of dove right into that, specifically for the people who don't have children. So we are just gonna go after that. Was there a point in your life where you knew you were beginning to make an impact that will kind of transcend time? Delvin, you ready? Or you want me to go backwards?
I guess I'm living in that right now, because as I finished up my season on Project Runway, I got a lot of requests to speak at colleges, high schools, and, you know, talking with people before and after the event. I didn't know the level of impact of me just working hard and being diligent at what I do, how it impacted other people that were watching me. I didn't know how many eyes were on me until, you know, I started being told. So, yeah.
Which is kind of gotta be, how is that for you, knowing that that's happening right now?
It's motivation to just go harder. And now that I have the right audience seeing what's possible, I'm doing one part of my goal and showing those in the same seat as me, those younger than me or older, even if they decided not to chase after what they wanted to do, that in an intimidating field, it is possible.
Well, Delvin, you segued into a question that I had later for you, but we're gonna do it right here. And Jasmine, you're not second. I'm gonna mix up the order, so don't get comfortable. Y'all are chilling. Delvin, do you feel any pressure being a Black man in the fashion industry and you on a platform like Project Runway, now that you know so many eyes are on you?
Not pressure from viewers that are looking up to me. It's more pressure from being in the industry itself, being a person of color.
So kind of like your colleagues, your peers, trying to make sure you can, is it like, I want to be here, I can be here, I should be here kind of pressure?
It's more like I'm proving every day why I should be here and that I'm allowed to, that I have the skills, that I have the capabilities, I have the knowledge, the know-how, and the technical skills behind it. And, you know, the business savviness as well to be in this field.
Absolutely. So yeah, stay right there because we got some stuff to talk about today. Brittany.
Sir.
Was there a point in your life where you knew you were beginning to make a generational impact? And if not, it's okay if it hasn't come yet, but if that's happened, talk to us about it.
Yeah, I can give a recent example. Back in the beginning of February, I was invited to speak at the University of South Carolina in their sports and entertainment department in particular. And originally I was going to speak with their grad students just about my experience, my story, and ended up speaking to a couple of their introductory classes. So speaking with their, in some lecture halls. And afterwards, similar to the story that was just shared, with some of the conversations that I had with students in the follow-up emails, there was one email in particular where there is a woman, she is a former student athlete, and she told me that afterwards, by hearing my story, she had never considered or even thought about working at a brand. She didn't even think about that side of things. She always knew, like, of course, the leagues and then the teams. And so hearing how my story was able to impact her, to open up her eyes to a whole new field and work, I thought that was pretty cool. And so just to hear stories like that from the students, and like I said, I was just sharing my story. So as far as like a generational impact and things like that, Just trying to, again, be transparent, let them know, hey, this is where I'm at right now. I'm 26, but when I was in your shoes and things like that, I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to go. I was walking down this path, but it was through, again, the kindness of others, people taking a chance in me, believing in me or investing in me, that allowed me to get to where I'm at today.
Stay right there, Brittany, because you're still in the hot seat. Mo, that phrase she gave us, we need to put that on a little graphic and make it look good and blow that up. All right, we get by. Say it again, on the kindness of strangers.
We got back to the kindness.
Let's do it right, because we don't want to misquote you and your mom.
I was gonna say, don't let me.
In the chat box. Think about it. Call your mom. Put it in the chat box. We're gonna blow that up because a couple kids.
Hey, his mom's in here, so.
Oh, your mom is here.
Yeah.
One of y'all need to put it in the chat box. But similar to Delvin, because you opened up that door. You're a woman in a pretty seemingly male-dominated industry, being sports. Do you feel any pressure being a minority woman, being 26, which is relatively young, navigating this field?
I would say there's pressure, but I welcome it. I want it because I know that by some of the challenges that I face and have to go through, again, it's starting the discussions or have the opportunity to make a difference. And so while, I am a minority in the space, the fact that I'm at the table and have been encouraged by my managers and directors to speak up, I feel like it's a welcome challenge. I say all that to say definitely comes with its stresses, but seeing the big picture and the implications, it's something that I look forward to.
I mean, you only gonna make it if you embrace it anyway, so we might as well just all go ahead and suck it up. KB, let us know when you knew you was making a generational impact.
I think that's a very, what is that? Note? What is that? I'm sorry, I was distracted. I think that is the interesting question. Like, when do you know? Like, as if a switch gets flipped. Like, now you're actually impacting kids. But for me, it was quite literal. So in my free time, I coach junior football, right? So Harlem Jets, shout out to Harlem Jets organization, 10U team, that's my squad. And I think when I was working with them, one of the other coaches that runs About You NYC, which is the student athlete nonprofit that works on SAT performance as well as sports performance, they kind of noticed my approach with the kids, and they asked me to come to their facility and talk with their high school seniors. And they produce a lot of high school seniors that go on to play collegiate sports. And it was like a wow moment for me where like they truly valued what it was that I had to say or what I had to, I guess, the insight that I was bringing to the table, that they wanted me to come to their facility and impart that wisdom or to give that insight to another generation. So it was literally a quite literal moment where I started doing that. But nonetheless, it's something that I embrace and I think is very important because, like I said before, I have this knowledge that comes from previous experience, and life is too short to make every mistake. So it's very important for you to learn from other people's mistakes so that you can kind of get to where you're trying to, be as quickly as possible. Because it's kind of crazy to think in this world, more or less anything that you ever want to do has been done. So there's somebody that can show you how to do it. If you want to start a company, someone's done it. If you want to break into a new industry, someone's done it. If you're trying to come up with an invention, there's people that have got patents and things like that. So there's always going to be a resource that can kind of provide guidance and wisdom on how to do something. You kind of just have to get over that intimidation factor of reaching out. But being in a position that I'm in to take the first step and reach the hand out, that hand of kindness, kind of, it makes me feel good inside knowing that that's something that I'm able to do now.
I know y'all coming with some quotables today. Ian, I didn't really mean for you to have to follow all of that up, but I trust you. All right, let us know when you knew. If you knew, if that time has come yet, talk to us about when you felt like, all right, this is starting to hit for other people now.
No, definitely. I think I've had a few instances that have confirmed that I'm having an impact beyond myself. The first thing I want to say is that so I've mentioned that I went to Morehouse for undergrad, but there's this quote by Morehouse alum Benjamin Elijah Mays. I got to make sure I throw something in there that's quotable as well. But by Benjamin Elijah Mays that says that every man and every woman is born into this world to do something unique and something distinctive. And if he or she doesn't do it, it may never be done. And so that's just like a mantra that I've definitely subscribed to. So I mentioned I started my professional career as a teacher. I studied business in undergrad, was slated to, dang, so we got a Morehouse hater in the chat. But that's something I've subscribed to. But I was a business major in undergrad and was slated to work in consulting. But I decided to pivot and have an impact. So I veered off of that path and joined Teach for America. Shout out to Jasmine because we taught together. And I ended up being placed to teach in first grade. So I accepted the offer thinking I was going to teach high school. The day before school started, they switched my placement and Jasmine is laughing because she was right there by my side when I was like, what the F? And I had to figure out, or I had to like just settle in the fact that my choice and my path was way bigger than me. And so through that experience, not only was I able to serve as a great example, exactly, and as Mario said, that's where I created Gingerbread Scholars. But not only was I serving as an example for my first grade students, but in many instances, I was the same age as their parents. So I was building like phenomenal relationships, but I was also confirming to many of my students' parents who unfortunately assume that, at 28, 23, their various ages, that life was over for them. But me being a 22-year-old teacher at the time, like I was able to confirm that. So that's the first. The second is that like in my current job right now, so I mentioned, I taught, I left teaching and became went to business school. And so now I'm a consultant and I'm at a firm where I am literally the only Black person in a client-facing role. And I work with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies in strategic meetings and rooms where I'm, again, the only Black person and often the youngest. And in those spaces, not only am I like shifting the perspectives that many of the people I'm interacting with have about people that look like me, and ultimately, hopefully creating opportunities for people with my identity, but I'm being intentional about making sure that I'm opening doors for others from my background that can walk into that space. So yeah, had to make sure I held it down a little bit, but I think we can pass it to Jasmine.
Yeah, y'all are living pretty heavy lives. And I laugh because Jasmine has a very similar story to being placed with kids too young for her.
Yeah, we were in that struggle together, like every step of the way.
Jasmine, it's your turn?
It is my turn.
All right, come on, Tail Club. When did this happen for you?
Yes. So, yes, Ian and I knew each other before this panel. 2012, straight out of undergrad, I started Institute, and we were in Philly, and it was just an amazing experience. And I picked first grade. I actually picked first grade because I remember that being like an instrumental grade for me, where I felt like I was, becoming, like first, it was 6, but like it was just like great memories, right? And I had a situation with one of my students my second year of teaching. I was pregnant with my youngest child, and he pushed me while I was pregnant, which is like, whoa, that's crazy, right, to have to deal with. But you have to also know your student. So like, I knew he wasn't trying to be malicious, but he had a lot going on in his home background. And it was just, as I was shifting to become a mom, I felt like I needed to work with a older demographic of students. And so I transitioned to working with high school. And so for me, generational impact has been something that I'm living every single day because I'm impacting students on a very consistent basis. Like I'm a school mom, like even though I'm young and my students, like they know that I'm young, but they never really knew how old I was. I was like a school mom to them. And so I'm having these very, intimate conversations with them about things that are going on in their home lives, like aspirations and dreams that they have. And even when they get stuck and have some challenges, whether they have gone away to school, and something occurred while they were in that transition, like they're always coming back to me to ask me questions on like, what should they do? Or after they've done what they thought was best, to reach out and ask me for assistance. And so J&B Advising became a thing for me as I, was encouraged by my husband and, my mom to like really step out on faith and just start working with people outside of my day-to-day job, because I felt like I had a lot to give and a lot to offer students in my community. So I'm servicing students at other schools where they have counselors, like they have school administrators that are in a college programming, so to speak, but they're not getting the things that they need. And so they're coming to me and they're DMing me and they're reaching out to me to help them make that transition. And so that's what I love about, the position that I'm in, and feel like I'm really fulfilling my purpose with working with youth on a day-to-day basis, professionally, and then also personally with my business.
Computer told me I was muted. For the people who are listening, feel free, I don't know, questions have popped up. So feel free to throw the questions in there as sporadic as they come. Throw them out there so we can get these people talking, ask them some stuff that they ain't never been asked before. And also for the panelists, when you get a chance, throw all the social media handles for the business pages and the organizations that you're working with and a part of, so that these people can look you up, share you, show you love, follow you, all of that. Now, I want to talk about who you all have kind of looked toward, maybe as role models, as kind of mentors, if anybody. And if you don't have anybody, how it's been navigating just kind of your life, really. I don't really want to focus on the 9 to 5 anymore, than I want to focus on what you all are doing for yourself outside of what pays the bills. But just if you do have mentors, how did you go about finding them? Did people already kind of recommend them to you? Did you DM dive somebody? Delvin, what you got for us?
So I started off looking at Russell Simmons and Baby Fat, given I know it wasn't his company, but whatever. I wanted to be like that guy. So going through schooling and everything, I didn't have necessarily a specific role model other than that. And that was my motivation to just, I have to get to his level at least. So throughout my journey, I, ROTC, I got a mentor from my sergeant. And then in college, where it was the most impactful, one of my professors, I asked her to be my mentor because she has the know-how. She knows everything I don't know. She's been there. She's lived through it. And, she knows what to do and how the game goes. So I always ask a million questions, and people are usually hesitant because they don't want to be irritating or come off, bothersome, but I don't care. Like, I need to know this. I'm going to get it. However I'm going to get it, I'm going to ask everybody every question I can think of. And that's basically what's helped get me to this point today.
How long have you been doing, how long would you consider yourself to have been doing fashion?
Since 2016.
4 years and counting. And what kind of kickstarted this, hey, I want to do this for you?
I don't have the typical fairy tale designer story. I didn't wake up knowing that I wanted to design since I was a baby. I kind of fell into it as an artist, searching for my medium that I preferred. So I originally started off studying the fine arts. Hate being told when to draw, so I bounced around, got cold feet in the arts, decided to go for film. Then I went for nursing, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just go for what I want to do, and if I fail, I'm gonna possibly, if possible, I'm gonna have fun while doing it. So I just, no guts, no glory, and I just went for it.
Yeah, like Ian just said, 4 years in Project Runway. And real quick, just let people know what Project Runway is, where they can catch up on it, watch it, and kind of get a feel more who you are.
They have on the Bravo website, and then you can catch some of the episodes on YouTube, and they have it on the Bravo app as well.
And we are going to come back to you just to talk about what exactly you do, what you make, how you make it, all of that stuff. Brittany, there's a question from somebody who's watching, and I'm going to turn it over to him and let him ask you that question. Never mind, he left his chair. Hold on, wait a minute.
I was actually just typing a response. So that's
nope, don't type it, because I wanted to give him a little time to shine, but now I just don't answer that yet. But while we have you here, let's talk about how you went about finding, if you have a mentor, role model, somebody to look up to.
Yeah, I have a couple different mentors. The one example I'll give, I met my mentor, his name's Lauren, about 4 years ago or so. I was actually working an event. I was at the Women's Final Four, it was when I was working with the NBA alumni. So I was looking to recruit former WNBA players to join the association, talk about different programs with him. And he came up to the booth and we started a conversation. And we exchanged contact information cards and we stayed in touch. And from that point, I talked to him probably at least weekly, even today. And exactly as far as Carl shared, where there's people out there that have gone through these experiences, that have lived it, ask questions, be a sponge, want to learn. And so that's the mentality I take into my different mentor-mentee relationships. And so he has been absolutely phenomenal and has helped me guide me through not only dealing with, of course, corporate, but on the side of starting my own consulting thing, and just navigating in general.
So it's safe to say that essentially you weren't really going into that transaction to say, hey, I want to ask you as many questions as possible.
No, I wasn't. It was just a genuine connection. And from that point forward, he was very forthcoming in sharing his information and wanting to help me, most importantly. And from that point, as time went along, it did get to a point where I asked him directly. I was like, will you be my mentor? And so it was something that just started organically that then transformed. But I have other mentors directly that it started going into Seek. And that's where it always began, wanting to ask questions and understand their paths, where it's like, yes, they're in the industry, their jobs, but I'm also very interested in understanding and learning and hearing their personal stories, because I feel like you get so much background and really understand, on top of course, how they navigated the corporate scene and their career, but really what drives them, their passions, their roots. So I always enjoy those type of conversations.
Thank you, Brittany. Mo, can you tell your man to sit down? He keep leaving. We want to get his question off. Where?
I'm back.
Come on, Darius. Come on, man.
My bad.
Darius,
I want to. This is your chance.
I'm not a great multitasker.
Where the video go? She want to see your smile, man.
Oh, my bad.
where you at?
Yeah, man.
Just pray for me.
I mean, I have been. I see you making all the back ones, bro. But go ahead and ask Brittany the question that you put in the chat.
Yeah, so Brittany, I recall a time when you had a pretty critical decision to make, right? And we all get to crossroads in life where we got a couple options and the anxiety is running high and we got to figure out what decision to make, and we're trying to analyze the environment and all that other good stuff. But what I wanted to know, like, after you made your decision, what helped you make it? And then once you finally got there, how did you manage the newness? And, are you enjoying the space that you are in now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that was a tough decision for me because I was leaving a space. I had been in Chicago for about 7.5 years at that point. I loved my job. At that time, it was my dream job, getting to work with the former players and help them in life after the game. But I was comfortable and I was ready for the next thing. However, it took the pushing of my mentors and my friends like you and Mo to make that jump. And as far as what helped me get settled with the transition and getting out here, because I was here for maybe 12 hours for my interview and then I was out. So I had never been to Baltimore. I have no family. I came in and then was out and then had to move from Chicago in 2.5 days to get out here and start my job. And so that transition was very rough for me, but it was my support systems, my friends. You and I was able to call or to text you and call my mentors and have, talk through things with them, because on top of just moving, I was entering a new field where my focus was systems. And to be very honest, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to be doing. I saw the big picture and opportunity, but it was an amazing opportunity to leap. And so I tried to always keep that big picture in mind where, yes, it's tough right now, but allow time to settle and get comfortable, build my relationships. I have a great group of friends out here, which have been tremendous. My coworkers, adore them. Like it's fun for me to go to work each day.
Darius, was that the answer you were looking for? Did you I mean, I see you asking insider questions, so.
I was gonna say, you knew that answer.
Yeah, but he getting it started, so I'm not mad at him. And y'all are touching on some stuff that we're gonna get to, hopefully before God say it's too late. But Ian, let's talk about some mentors for you. Who you looking up to? Who are you studying, researching? How's that going for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a big fan of mentorship for sure. So much so, like I really prioritize like this board of directors approach. So rather than just like identifying one solo individual, like I'm just very intentional about creating a cohort or a group of individuals that I can look up to for advice. And I think like typically with the term mentor, at least for me, I think of like someone who's accomplished, what you want to accomplish and things of that sort. But I think that some of the greatest opportunities that I've been able to kind of experience have come from peers. So I think it's like, that's something that I definitely prioritize as well, is like compiling a group of people that have obviously accomplished and experienced things that I'm striving to accomplish, but then also people who are on a different journey, because there's a huge opportunity to learn from others. But then in the workplace, like in addition to like being strategic about identifying people to look up to and serve as mentors for me, I'm often intentional about identifying what I call like a sponsor. So somebody who may not know me as well as a mentor would, but someone who I've built strong relationships with and proven myself from a capability standpoint. And they're willing, and I know that they're willing to advocate for me and speak to my capabilities. So yeah, I would say I have a host of people that I would consider mentors or that sit on my board of directors who I consult when making tough decisions, whether that's professional or personal, or even thinking about like extracurricular activities that I'm considering engaging in. So yeah, I wouldn't want to call anyone in particular out, but definitely there's so much value in leaning on other people and their experiences. I think, was it KB that said earlier, like there's something about mistake, like there's no reason to duplicate the mistakes of others. Like, yeah. So definitely subscribe to that idea.
Thank you for that. Jasmine, you're next, but before we get to you, Mo, can we unmute Eric D? He has a question for Delvin. Don't get nervous now, Delvin. Don't get nervous now.
I'm starting to type it.
Yeah, no.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone, by the way. My name is Eric. I am a fellow creative. I do design work underneath Mo at Dim Events. But my question for Delvin is, so as a fellow creative, how do you motivate yourself to get out of that constant like comparison to other creative peers? And also, how do you like get yourself out of that self-doubt when it comes to creating work? And then also, what was that process like putting out work to get recognized by television programs such as Project Runway?
With the first question, getting myself out of that comparison stage and self-doubt, one thing that Anna Wintour said that stuck with me is not being concerned with what's to the left of you or the right of you, but just literally focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about anything that nobody else is doing. Don't compare yourself. Everybody, and then another thing that I have to keep reminding myself is that everybody has their own road, their own path. You can't compare your stage and your story to somebody else's because that's their life. So you have your own journey to go through. You can't look at their speed and, man, I'm not keeping up. But their stuff is happening the way it's happening because they're who they are. Self-doubt, I doubt myself every day. That's never going to stop, but it's, you're your worst critic. And one thing that, a marketing professional told me was that your 70%, you know, you don't always have to be a perfectionist, but your 70% may be everyone else's 100%. So, you know, you're constantly pushing yourself, but you're already good enough. You don't have to keep going for, you know, the top of the top because it's where it should be. Having my work recognized by television programs. TV is TV. You have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to be able to differentiate between the fake and the real. I wouldn't really care too much about everybody's opinions because people, they see a tailored version of it speaking to the viewers of the show. Now, the actual judges, some people, they give you opinions, and I mean, I'm trying not to get too specific, but
you can go ahead and preach. Say what you got to say.
I mean, it's TV. At the end of the day, you have to know when it's said for the camera or when it's real. And then you have to also look at, just because someone's sitting at the judges panel does not necessarily mean that they're necessarily qualified to give you, you know, to critique you on certain things, you know. So you have to look at if they actually know what they're talking about to make themselves credible, and then what they're actually saying. You know, if it's something that you were complimented on before and now they're taking a dig at you for it now, you have to ask yourself why. So, I mean, I would take it as a grain of salt. It was great getting critiques and getting feedback from professionals, from people that are not well-versed or know too much about the creative field that you're in, giving you criticism. It was a tough pill to swallow. I had to catch myself a lot of the times because I wanted to, you know, clap back on everybody online. But you know, you have an image and you have these responsibilities. Now you've been placed on this platform. People are looking at you. You can't wild out. You know, you have other things on your back now. So there's a way to address things. And I've had to learn to do that. But it was interesting hearing everybody's feedback as a whole.
Thank you so much for answering my question.
Absolutely.
And Eric, thank you for asking the question. And real quick, before we go back to Jasmine, I want to just applaud the composure that you all have talked about essentially having to have in these respective fields. Whether you work in schools with kids and parents, you working with these multi-millionaire, world-known athletes, you on TV. Shout out to y'all. And if y'all see a little 6-year-old boy on the screen, that is Jackson. His birthday was last week. Jasmine is his mother. Shout out to Mommy Candace tuning in, watching this, showing love. Yeah, that's him. So y'all go ahead and tell him happy birthday. He's a new 6-year-old club member. But yeah, Jasmine, unmute the mic, man, and talk to us about who you look up to, who your mentors are, your role models are in this field that you just chose to be in.
Okay, so it's funny because, I mean, Ian and I both started in education at the same time, and one of my mentors was one of our peers. So like, she was my mentor in undergrad. We both went to the University of Michigan. We both went to Renaissance High School. So if people are from Detroit, like, you would be familiar with those school names. But she was just, you know, thriving in her field. She was running a rec center at the time, and she asked me to come on and do some college programming. And that was like my first time transitioning out of working at my, you know, 9 to 5. And when I got that role from her, was because we had conversations about, you know, what I wanted to do and like my aspirations and just things that I wanted to start doing in the future. But I also had a conversation with my 5th grade English teacher, who was a consultant. And that was like the first time that I had kind of heard that terminology connected with education. Like, she was being paid to go into school settings and help them like manage what was going on with their students, what was going on with their teachers. And so it was like those two conversations outside of like my household with my mom and my husband, where it was like, you know, you have a gift, you're doing something in your school that is impacting lives, is impacting youth. And now you have these people who are encouraging you, who you look up to, you know, in their fields, in their, you know, respective, you know, job titles or what have you. And they're pushing you to do more, you know, to not be comfortable, like Brittany said earlier. And so I definitely had that board of directors mentality, the way that Ian was describing. Like, there are multiple people in my life who have influenced me to be where I am right now and keep pushing and supporting you know, the platforms that I'm trying to use to help service more youth. So whether it's, you know, a repost or a reshare or sending a client my way, you know, these mentors or people that have impacted my life and assisted me in figuring out my own voice, like they're constant. So I'm constantly asking them for advice. I'm constantly circling back to them to see, you know, what their opinion is, or, you know, I'm recording videos in my front room or my husband can hear it and then he's resharing it every single day. You know what I mean? So just like, it's not just about the mentorship above me or maybe near to peer or, you know, someone who I may look at that is older than me, but it's also like who is in the trenches with you every day, helping you to try to be better and to be great as you're trying to service and assist other people. And that's kind of the space that I'm in with my mentors or just the circle, my village that's like helping me be great.
I'm still muted. Thank you, Jasmine. So, KB, you're on deck for the mentor question. But before we get to you, I want to let another viewer. Tangela, are you fine? Did they answer your question for you? You good? You good? We straight?
I believe so. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I ain't going. All right, bet. Daniel, where you at? Mo, can we do you? I want to. Yep, my man. Let's unmute him. Let's let him ask his question. Since KB is up next, this question is for you.
Yeah, so my name's Daniel. I'm currently playing baseball at a small school in Massachusetts. And so my question is, what is it like to be a student athlete and then transferring kind of into the work world? Because like right now I'm kind of at this point where I'm unsure of if I want to even play all 4 years of baseball to kind of get a jump start on my career. Because I don't really want to be at that kind of middle point where you kind of like, you know, I'm out of college, I don't really have the ability to make connections now, or at least the efficiency to make connections. So do you have any kind of tips or recommendations? What was your path kind of like?
Yeah, so I mean that is a great question. How do you make that transition from being a student athlete to the corporate atmosphere? And I'll start by saying this: an internship is nothing more but free work. It's an opportunity to work for free, right? So if we take that idea and then let's think about your college. A college is nothing but, in most cases, a small business, right? There's literally so many different departments that exist on a college campus. You got finance, you got marketing, you got athletics, you got, you know, dining services, you have tons of different roles that exist. So if we think about that, in theory, I would say continue to play your sport, right? Because what that shows an employer is what going to college shows an employer, that your ability to stick to something, have the discipline to finish. You played all 4 years, so don't stop that, right? So that's number one. And then number two, I don't know what your major is, but think about that in the context of what's readily available to you. So some insight there. My senior year, I broke my leg in practice. Snapped it, broke the fibula, I have a metal rod in my leg. My career was over, right? One practice. And at that moment, shit got really real for me very fast. And like, I needed to start figuring things out. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm on crutches. I can't hobble to an internship off campus. Don't have a car. Like, that's out of the question. But we do have an entire marketing team that exists on campus, whose job is to market the university to prospective students. Why don't I go and introduce myself? Why don't I go and help them do marketing stuff so I can understand what that looks like? And before you know it, if you were an intern at different departments across your campus, say every semester or every other semester, you will grow a wealth of experience and an opportunity to then take that to an employer and articulate how your skills as a baseball player, whether you were team captain, whether it was the discipline that you learned or the ability to push through and persevere, has then transferred to these real life experiences that you've had on campus working in different departments. And now you can transfer that over to, this is the value that I bring your company, right? We have to rethink how we view internships, because everyone has the concept of know your worth, then add tax, I need to be paid, blah, 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 blah. Like, the only way that you're able to really get value is by having experience. And from showing proven results from that experience. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
No, definitely. Thank you.
Now you answered my question. I didn't even ask one yet.
Oh, all right.
No, thank you. But while you right here already in the seat and you kind of segued into it, making that transition from athlete to employer, sorry. Can you tell us about who you talked to and who helped you and who's kind of came into that big brother mentor role for you?
So I was, in a unique position in college just because, I played football and I stayed in contact with a lot of the guys who were older than me. And I was able to pick their brain. But I've always been a firm believer that the best opportunity you have to learn how to get to where you're trying to be is learning from someone who does it or has done it before. So my senior year, I remember this, I charted out I wanted to work in athletics marketing department, and I reached out to almost every single associate athletic director of marketing in the United States at every school. And I had like a formatted template letter, and I reached out to every single one, 121 of them. And I think 4 or 5 got back to me. However, those 4 to 5 are connections that I still have to this day. And they were able to give me insight on whether I need to go get a secondary degree, maybe I don't, experiences, things like that. And when you haven't worked in a field, the best thing you can do is gain perspective from people who have done it, are currently doing it, have navigated ups and downs through that environment, and help shape your picture of what you believe, sports marketing to be or digital strategy to be. And then from there, you can then chart what's best for you. Because to what Delvin's point, have your blinders on. First things first, second thing, not at all. What is the first thing that you can do right now to help take that step forward and do that? Do that with as much passion and energy that you have. Because, once again, to Delvin's point, your 70% might be better than somebody's 100. So you should always be trying to raise the floor, not the ceiling. Because if you're able to raise the floor, even on your worst day, you'll be better than the next. So that was my thoughts.
KB, they gave us about 3-4 quotes today.
Yeah, those are some bars.
my man's went half. I was still stuck on first things first, second out at all, and then you just said move the whole floor, fam.
Yo, you got to raise the floor, man. Everybody's always trying to raise the ceiling, but at the end of the day, your potential is that. It's potential. I don't think anybody ever reaches their potential, right? Even, I don't know if you guys been watching The Last Dance, but everything that we saw was what Michael Jordan did. That was his floor, and he just kept raising it. He went and took off and played baseball. Imagine if he really devoted everything he had to basketball.
Or didn't smoke cigars all season long.
Or didn't smoke cigars, never drank, never gambled. Literally was just blinders on basketball. He probably would be without a doubt the greatest. And he still is the greatest. But at the end of the day, in real life, you're always gonna only be able to improve on your worst performance. You'll never reach your potential because at that point, that is now your floor because you've done it.
All right, hold on, because we gonna have to get you on.
I'm on a tangent now. I'm sorry, I'm done.
But I do wanna highlight, because like I told you, I got kids. I got a wife. My wife is here watching, listening. But I told her early on, my kids got to play sports during developmental ages. I don't care if they suck. I don't care what sport you play. But there are things you learn when you play organized sports that you don't really get anywhere else.
Absolutely.
You could be an only child. You could be one of 26 children. But organized sports is going to give you something that nothing else in the world is going to give you.
Exactly, man.
And I can hear a lot of those principles coming out of you for sure.
Yeah, and I think the one thing Tangela just said, transferable skills, is the most important part. And that, unfortunately, is the part where most athletes kind of fall short.
Okay.
Because you've learned all of these skills, you've learned all this stuff, but when you're in the interview, you gotta articulate it, baby. You gotta be okay, I get it. You worked up at 5 a.m. to go work out. We don't do workouts here, so what that mean to me? You gotta say, oh no, that's discipline. That's ability to say no to parties. That's ability to go to sleep late. That's accountability to my teammates. That's dependability in a work culture. That is something that I'm bringing to the table. I may not have done it by going to an internship every day, but in the same way that, you know, your employer was able to count on you when you interned is the same way that my head coach and teammates can count on me in very serious game situations. And I think it's important as an athlete, you know, Daniel, to think about that and spend time writing these things down and practicing. Okay, I did this task. What is that most similar to in a professional environment? And practice that, because at the end of the day, when you're in that room, it's all about your rap, all about your game, how you position it. And if you can't position it properly, I don't care what degree you have. I have friends that went to Duke, have degrees from Duke, and are currently working at, you know, working at Target. Like, bro, you have a degree at Duke in business marketing and you work the night shift? Like, yeah, you feel me? That don't make sense. And it comes from the inability to stand in that room and kind of sell yourself to the employer on why it is a benefit to have you on staff.
Did y'all have this man on a resume panel earlier too?
Nah.
I mean, and we gotta, because in a minute I'm about to go get the organ and go to E flat.
I'm done preaching. I'm on mute.
Yes. Mo, can we open up Langston Hill so you can get this question off to the panelists? Where you at, Langston? Oh, there you go.
What's going on? Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the time, y'all, and all the insights. Just as we're kind of talking about, I heard KB talking about the most important skills. The most important thing is really developing those transferable skills. But, you know, on the subject of kind of generational impact and us being able to transfer our knowledge and our skills and all of our resources to the next generation, you know, what are tension points that that you see currently, or that you saw in yourself and being able to connect with that previous generation before you? We were talking about mentors and whatnot, like, you know, so what are ways that we can improve that connection between the previous generation and the next generation, whether it be communication, or where are some opportunities where we can improve kind of the training when it comes to transferable skills, all of that stuff. Like, where can we, for all of us in the room, where can we find opportunities to improve those connections?
I was just about to ask if anybody had any meetings. We're gonna go Delvin, Brittany.
Mine's, given that as a mentor myself, being a mentee and a mentor, my mentor asked me, the only thing she requested was that I teach somebody else, pass on the knowledge. So I always take in whoever's willing to learn something and have the passion and ambition. And one thing that I've seen that's a huge disconnect that has been a major connect with me, with my mentor and much older generations, is the lack of work ethic. And, you know, given life isn't easy, but they don't provide, you know, we don't have a script on how it goes. But, you know, I think newer generations, they are comfortable in the privileges that we have today, that we didn't, like older generations didn't have, and then the success that their parents or grandparents had that they're living comfortable in. So they're not the ones that's paving the pathway. So they don't, you know, they don't know, or they're not familiar with working, you know, working to the bone to get something, or having to go, you know, blood, sweat, and tears to get something out of it. So I think that's something that could serve as a benefit to work on, or even help people develop a more serious work ethic.
Thank you, sir. Brittany, you got us?
Yeah, wanting to jump in here as far as, you know, you talk about communication and things like that. And I think it comes exactly down to that communication. In this day and age, we have social media, and being able to stay connected, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter. Like I said, I dropped my Instagram in there. And for me, as far as finding people that can help guide me and get into certain doors, social media actually has been a huge part for me, in particular Instagram, where, again, just asking questions, but as nerve-wracking and kind of scary it is, putting myself out there in social media finding out, you can figure out who the circles are as far as who's in the room following them, you know, of course, are engaging with their content. Just, hey, that reacting to a story or just saying, hey, shout out to you, this or that. I've had some of my biggest connections and been able to do things coming strictly from social media relationships. I didn't know these people, but when there is a key event in the industry, whether it was All-Star Weekend, Super Bowl, or something like that, everybody in the industry is there. So what better way to stay connected than, of course, the Instagram stories, seeing where people are. So just be willing to step out of that, again, that comfort zone. We're dropping quotes, so I will drop another quote. That's one of my favorites. But the quote is, comfort and growth cannot coexist.
Y'all keep segueing into all my questions.
Oh,
no, but I mean, y'all making my job easy. People think I'm good at this, and y'all do the work for me.
And I just wanted to jump in real quick because, like, me
Reverend.
and Brittany, like, All-Star Weekend, we were hanging out, jumping from one place to another. We stopped in a bar to charge phones because we had link ups on the way. Like, oh, this person is just gonna text me back, but I need to charge my phone. I can't miss this text, right? And there's like, to Delvin's point, there's a ability to be scrappy that doesn't exist in the next generation because of comfort, right? And I think we need to help the next generation understand the concept of delayed gratification, right? Where meet this person today, and like, this person's not gonna give you a job today. This person's not gonna read your resume right now. But like, just meet this person today, because in a month, 2 months, 3 months, that person might know the person that is your hiring manager, right? So get out of your comfort zone, right? And push past the immediate feeling of intimidation, because like, it is scary to reach out to somebody you've never talked to before. Like, when I wrote all of those letters to those athletic directors, I was like, all right, I'm hit send. I read it like 1,000 times. Like, but like, once you push past that and realize that worst case, it goes unanswered, or they're like not interested, which, guys, newsflash, nobody's not going to want to talk about themselves. So reaching out to people is always going to be good. And think about it where, guys, we're like, we have to get past that transactional mindset. Someone just put that in the chat, right? Where you need to try and build relationships, because that will be sustainable and more helpful. But to Brittany's point, like, we really have to figure out a way to get the next generation to understand the benefit of delayed gratification. Like, it is paramount to success, because if you're stuck and you think everything needs to happen right now, you send a tweet, send out a picture, why isn't nobody liking it? Why didn't someone retweet it, right? Like, you're immediately looking for feedback. And in real life, it's not like that. Like, I'm pretty sure Delvin had things that went unnoticed by people for a while, like just putting stuff out into the ether and like nobody responding. And it takes that for that one person to finally see it and want to speak up and connect. But if you're not pushing stuff out there, if you're not putting things out into the universe, I mean, the universe ain't just gonna find you, baby. Like, you got to be out there.
Yeah, first of all, no, absolutely. And everybody who answered that is great. And I'm going to put my 2 cents in because Mo told me to say something to one of these questions. First of all, Langston, did we answer your question? Do we give you some help to kind of connect these generations? I know for myself I think a big part of it is the social media, the technology, the everything being in your hand, in your pocket. The microwave society is what one of my professors called it in college. But also, to KB's point, college is really a pocket where you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years to mess up over and over and over again, right? So you go to college and you try this org, you're not good at it. You try this position, it wasn't for you. You try this major, and then you try the next major, it all sucks, and you finally figure it out. Then you get to a point where Daniel was like, yo, I'm about to graduate. Do I keep playing sports? Do I start applying for jobs? And the reality of it is, and I want the panelists to talk to this too, it was kind of touched on earlier, you have to be pushy, right? I heard HaHa Davis say in one of his New York interviews that he would DM Dot. He would DM every celebrity and say, I'm the funniest person on Instagram. I'm the funniest person on Instagram. And eventually Snoop Dogg picked it up like, yo, you are funny, right? And I'm doing my podcast on Instagram. I DM'd Jalen Rose last week, like, yo, I got a podcast. You from Detroit? We in Detroit. Let's connect, right? I will DM anybody because at the end of the day, they got to sit on the toilet to do number 2, just like I do, right? They're regular people. They in quarantine. Everybody's going through the same thing. You got to let people know who you are. You got to tell them what you do. And like somebody told me last week, you also have to bring something to the table, right? So when KB mentions the interning and free work, that's your chance to show, like they would say, I can do whatever you ask me to do. Sure, my resume says this, my experience says this, but if I got to go do that, I'm about to turn into a new person, right? A lot of us, I got a degree in human development and family studies, right? I work for the Ingham County Health Department. It was not the plan coming out of high school. That wasn't the plan 3 years before I graduated college, right? And now I'm in a position where I'm talking to celebrities. I got interviews with hosts who go on tour all year long, right? I got athletes who we talking to because of social media, the network, right? Tangela asked the question, do we reach out via, man, reach out wherever people are. If they're on Facebook, you use whatever they use the most to reach out to them because that's where they're gonna respond, right? So that's that. If they on LinkedIn, my mom uses LinkedIn, so when she asks for people, get her on LinkedIn. Certain people are looking for people to contact them, and people want you to follow instructions too. So if their bio says email them, don't DM them. If they say DM me, just follow their instructions because they have a life, they have a system, they have a process. You're going to DM them and be mad they didn't see it. They don't check it, right? They get spam. It's getting bombarded. It's been hacked. It's been compromised. So just, if they tell you how to reach out that way. It's 7:16. I do want to have the panelists, I want to talk about, and real quick, facing adversity, right? What's the most challenging part of where you are and what you do? And then we go into the wrap up and the closing remarks for each person. If anybody who is watching still has a question, drop it and we're going to get to it as quick as we can. All right. So Devil, we're going to go with you with the hardest part, the most challenging part. I don't want to call it hard. I don't want to call it difficult, but the most challenging thing about what you do and how do you get over it? If you don't have no challenges, just say that, boss.
No, I have. It's a lot of challenges, and a lot of them are maybe a bit difficult to swallow. But the effects of slavery still exist to this day. It makes it extremely difficult being an African American entrepreneur in my age. So those two things are the most difficult parts, from whether other businesses or customers or other people in the field want to work with you because of the color of your skin, the support from your own community, the mindset of how, when it comes to the marketplace and retail, how customers and people are manipulated to such a high degree and they don't even know, but it works to get certain things going, to get someone to buy something. It's just a massive amount of manipulation, and how they know how to make certain things and people tick. So, my solution to that was taking everything, instead of making sure I'm as independent as possible, not dependent on other companies, manufacturers, businesses. I do all my manufacturing in-house. All the knowledge I've learned through mentorships, apprenticeships, gathering every book, watching every video, every documentary that I can find on my own, to do everything I possibly can by myself before I reach out and depend on someone else. Because there's been times where the safety of my business was up to someone saying yes or no, sitting behind, a desk.
Simple as that. Jasmine Brooks, can we talk about the adversity you face in your world?
So working with youth and families can be tricky, right? Like I've had situations where I've had parents, irate or upset, telling me that I'm bullying or I don't have their best interest at heart, or they want to, report me to my superior, so to speak. And I spend more time with my students or sometimes my clients, because sometimes they're one and the same, than I do being able to mother my own kids. And so the adversity for me is getting the community on the same page. So like we all have the best interest of these youth or we should have the best interest of these youth together. And it should be the same intentions, right? We want them to be successful. We want them to have access to things and to be able to create their own path. But also as an educator, you have to have education, right? Like, I was great at my job, but I also felt like in order for people to take me more seriously, I needed to have some letters behind my name. I needed to have, some advanced degrees that showed them that I've put in the work. And so I think that is also adversity when you are working with youth, and that's your claim to, what you do every day is to be credible. And so that's what I work to do unconsciously and consciously every day, to show people that, like, I know what I'm talking about and I'm reliable in what I'm able to provide students while I'm trying to create impact for them. And I'm not a bully, by the way. I've never bullied anybody's kids. I just want to make sure that that's very, very clear. I love my students. I am a good student.
I don't know.
It was just shade. So I'm just going to keep that where it is, but I'm at all.
I'll talk to the mom too, so I don't know. It's three sides to the story.
Okay.
Ian, let's talk about what's the challenges about what you do.
Yeah, for sure. I would say what both Delvin and Jasmine shared with me definitely resonate. Just the structural barriers from just historically, but then also thinking about misperceptions, like perceptions that other people have of your intentions. Those are definitely struggles that I've experienced in my career and just day to day. But something else that I would say is often a big hurdle is just like sticking to the plan and keeping the end goal at the forefront of your mind. Like, I think it's very easy in the day to day to lose sight of what it is that you're ultimately working towards. And so for me, that's like educational equity, opening up doors of opportunity for people that look like me and that are from where I'm from. And so being in spaces or having portions of my journey take me to places where I'm the only, or the things that I'm passionate about aren't at the forefront of conversation or aren't the topic of conversation, it's very easy to want to just throw in the towel. But the reality is that, like, I'm very intentional about like taking a step back and just regrounding in what it is that I'm ultimately working for. And just remembering that, like, this mission, this journey that I'm on is way bigger than me. And I'm gonna throw in a quote just to close it out, for me at least. George Washington Carver has definitely said, like, you do the common things in life in an uncommon way, you'll command the attention of the world. And so for me, it's just like, it's very easy to just navigate that extremely traditional and safe path. But I have to remind myself that with the risks come rewards, but also come the desired outcome. So I just gotta stick to the path for sure.
Are we keeping a quote count, Mo? Who winning?
KB definitely got it with the quotes. I think
KB definitely got like 6 in one sentence. So, Brittany, unmute yourself. However y'all doing this, and let's do this adversity. And let's KB, you last. We're gonna wrap it up. Shout out to Casper Management. Shout out to Dem Events. Shout out to everybody who came through. Brittany, go ahead.
Yes. So as far as adversity that I face, I think as mentioned, being a minority in the space, being a Black woman in corporate is an experience all in itself, where you talk about some days sitting in meetings and I'm the only person, and hearing different ideas and things like that, where I've been in a position where I've had to speak up, where I'm like, if this rolls out, it's not going to be good. But having to deal with that balance of, do I speak out, and then dealing with perception of, oh, she's angry, she's this, she's, all pro-Black agenda trying to do this. So really that balance as far as wanting to really bring representation and bring quote unquote culture and to give that perspective. But in addition to that as well, for me, in particular, being in sports is interesting because people see the glitz and the glam of it. At All-Star, you're doing this, you're doing that with this player, but what people don't realize is you're working. As fun and as cool as it looks, great content for the Instagram story, I'm literally doing 20-hour days. And so just kind of dealing with that, but then also as I delve outside of my 9-to-5 walls, with it being kind of similar, having to also, even though I have these relationships and some people are my friends, having to respect the lines of communication and chain of command. And so it's just like, you got to play the corporate game. So just balancing that and recognizing on top of that, as a Black woman, there are so many different nuances that you have to be aware of, where some days you are exhausted when you're just like, you know, I'm having to put on, you know, the code switch and have to do this. It gets exhausting. So I don't think that's just singular to me. I think that's something that probably we all have to deal with in our different spaces. But that's one that comes directly to mind.
I think lines of communication is also key with us and our peers, because we get into these roles and these companies and at these events, and then all your homies start hitting you up. Yo, I'm in town. You got extra tickets. Can you get me in here? Put me on the list. Like, I've been on stage and I've like, my phone is in my pocket just shaking. I'm at the door. I'm at the door. I'm here. Hey, I'm at work. Right? So
yeah, KB mentioned we had to, during All-Star, we had to take about maybe a 20-minute break. We dove into a little bar literally just to charge our phones, but I had 2 chargers on me and my phone stayed dead. And it's just like, yo, people think you're the plug, and then it's just like,
yeah, it's a dangerous game. And I learned the hard way, because my wife gets lost in those text messages. And I'm like, oh, I didn't ignore you. It's just, if I start replying. KB, let's talk about the adversity real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. So I second everything Brittany is saying, just as someone who's working in sports management right now, catering to athletes. Like, you know, it's a nonstop cycle of requests and things you have to do, and you find a way to balance things that you need to get done in your personal life with, you know, client service, if you will. But one thing I want to talk about is kind of to Delvin's point, where in a previous role, I worked for a sports media publisher, Bleacher Report, and I was working brand partnerships. And there was just a lot of moments where, you know, you're crafting marketing campaigns for global organizations, and they come out and say, we're trying to talk to Black people. How do we do that? And you're like, okay, and you're selling Flaming Hot Cheetos. And you're just like, all right. And my job is to help them do that in an impactful and meaningful way. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to push that junk to like these kids, like, right? You know, because like, once again, I coach junior football. So like, I'm seeing my players pull up to practice eating that garbage and like, you know, feeling sick and stuff like that. Like, coach, it's the only money I had, like, you know, and I understand all the situations that come with it. But at the same time, you know, I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I had to, for it was my job. So for those of you that might get into brand marketing, granted, it's never anything that's like a stark moral, you know, dilemma, but for, you know, people like us, minorities in some cases, it's that constant battle of, okay, I'm doing my job, even if it is at the expense of my peers, right? Like, I worked on a campaign for Martell. How do we capture market share from Hennessy? We signed Quavo. That should help. And this, you know, you're sitting there trying to like code switch and like be in the room, because a lot of times you are also like the only African American in the room. And there's those moments like, yeah, is Martell similar to Hennessy, Carl? And you're like, yeah, I guess, you know. It's like, why do I have to be the residential person to speak on behalf of a whole community? And like, I feel like we can all speak to that in our various industries. But what I will say, to sum it all up, as though that is a challenge, face it head on and kind of understand that you can never control how somebody views you, but you can always control from where you're coming from with your perspective, right? So you can help inform and educate those around you who may think a certain stereotype exists or want to play into a certain narrative. If you have the power to kind of help craft it, I urge you to use that power and think of different ways than something that might play into, something that might be considered negative in some cases.
Thank you very much, KB. Ladies and gentlemen, just a virtual round of applause for our panelists. For Demi Vince, Mo, Darius, all the interns, graphics, Eric, thank you, Casper, Mario, my personal management. Panelists, I will be in touch with a few of you. Jasmine, I had Jasmine on our show a couple weeks ago. Great content, great interview. Noops, Delvin, KB, I'm on you. Brittany, please be on the lookout. Ian, I'm coming your way. And if anybody else is looking for any type of host, MC, moderator, I am here. You can hit me, you can hit Mario. If you need to go through Mo, we will make a shake. But yeah, thank you for y'all holding y'all time. Come kick it with us, listen to all these people talk about this stuff. Mo, you got anything? Mario, you got anything? I drunk Martell during this too, KB. That's exactly what I was drinking.
Yeah, I would just say, mirroring and reflecting, echoing what I just put in the chat. Thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our guests who were pulled up, our attendees. This was great. The conversation was great. The information sharing was nothing short of valuable. I'm sure everyone who participated, including myself, Mo, TG, even our panelists, learned from one another. So please look at the chat and make sure to follow everyone and stay connected. And, let's keep this energy going. Let's keep the momentum going. Hopefully during these trying times, during quarantine, we can continue to create, we can continue to build, and let's just stay successful.
Yeah, Mario wrapped it up. I think that's all I really have to say is the same thing. Thank you all for joining. Be on the lookout. We will be doing more events like this every month. So be on the lookout. Follow us at Demi Events on Instagram. That's probably where we're most active. And if you're interested in our internship still, feel free to reach out to us, especially a lot of you that are on this call. We will be getting back to you shortly. All right. Thank you.
Y'all be good, man. Stay safe.